The ICHOR operation in Dandy's world is one of the most cryptic pieces of lore, only being heard of once in Twisted Dandy's description. With all of that being said, I've discovered a lot about that. So, I'm your host Quasar, and let's get into the lore. First things first, we need to talk about Dandy. There is a lot of information on Dandy, but what we are going over first is his twisted description. It reads, star of the show, the one who runs the ICHOR operation. It's all his fault. This has plenty for us to unpack, but we're going to start with the first part because that makes the most sense. The star of the show, the one who runs the ICHOR operation. This is the first and only time we ever hear about the ICHOR operation. From the one mention of it, we can deduce that it is an operation that involves ICHOR. I'm being serious. This is all we have, except I read the wiki multiple times, so we have a bit more now. But before we continue with the ICHOR operation, we're going to talk about the last part of his description. It's all his fault. Now, the most important thing here is word choice, believe it or not. There could have been any synonym for fault. I really hope I said that right. I'm terrible at saying that word. But fault specifically means responsibility for an accident or misfortune. Whatever is Dandy's fault is an accident. Now we have to actually talk about the elevator before going any further, or the other topics here just won't make sense. We are led to believe by Dandy that the elevator goes down indefinitely, but that just isn't possible knowing that Garden View is an actual location. So how does this work? Well, we know that there are only around 30 floors, believe it or not, thanks to blackouts. Let me explain. On floor 3, the blackout chance starts at 5% and increases by 2 until floor 16, where it caps at 30%. If you get the electrician card vote, then it stops at 25%. I don't know if that's canon, but the deeper underground something is, the harder it is to power. And with the blackout chance not going up, it's pretty clear that you go up, then down again, then up and down again at a certain point. Around floor 30, which just brings up more questions. How are there different twists every time? What happens with the items? And most importantly, why? Why would Dandy lie to us and trap us down here? He clearly has access down here because he has a shop that comes all the way down. So, what is going on here? So many questions. Let's start with the ICHOR operations. That's probably why he keeps us down there, but why? Dandy wants ICHOR, we know that much, and if we cross-reference to the fault line in his twisted description, we know that he is at fault for some accident. Okay, we have to talk about the mains, but we will get back to this in a minute. The main characters, there are 5 of them, not counting Dandy and Event Toons. The real question is, why are these seemingly random characters the main characters of a very popular children's show? And to understand that, we have to look at how an episode is formatted. It goes as follows. Part 1, the Toons are just living life, simply existing. Part 2, problem occurs, the characters are put into a bad situation. Part 3, Dandy solves everything and the issue is gone. Part 4, everything returns to normal and the episode ends. Now that you know how the episodes work, we still need to talk about the mains. Let's start with the fact they all have a rather common problem among children, or at least something children don't want to happen to them. We'll start with Astro, who is shy, and that is a very common problem among young children. Next is Sprout, who pushes people to do things, which is very common among young children because they lack knowledge of boundaries. And then there's V, who is a know-it-all, which unsurprisingly is common among young children. And last and most forgettable is Shelly, who's scared of being forgotten, which is actually pretty out of place here, being something everyone is scared of happening to them. Pebble is the real oddball here, or should I say odd rock, not having any issues whatsoever, mainly because he's a dog and for their comedy relief. Okay, now we have to talk about Dandy. Unlike all the other ones, excluding Pebble, he does not have an issue, and in fact he solves problems. Which, a very common issue among children is wanting to fit in. And to fit in, he developed his own issue, an anger issue. A loss of temper, which is also, say it with me, very common among young children. This is what caused him to snap, the reason Garden View shut down. Let me paint you the picture. On June 29th, 2002, Dandy found himself in the warehouse floor. The means of getting there are unknown, or if this is the spot it took place. This is just an idea of the location. This area is called the warehouse, and it is safe to assume that it is off limits. Now, Dandy being here in the first place would require an external force, and given it was a Saturday, I checked, it was very busy considering it was a place for children. So we could say that this external force was a child, though that is mostly speculation. So, Dandy and this child were in the off-limits warehouse, and Dandy's toon handler, or the guardian of the said child, got angry, which in turn caused Dandy to retaliate. This is the explanation for the knocked over cars and ICHOR all over the floor. And after calming down, Dandy saw the destruction he had caused, the terrified looks on the children he used to entertain. And that was the last day Garden View was in business. And the start of the ICHOR operation. Knowing what he has done, he wants to find a way to fix it so that things can return to normal. This also explains why he turns twisted if you don't buy from him, because he can't get rid of the anger issues he gave to himself to fit in. In a desperate plea to right his wrongs, he experiments on his friends, his closest companions, his fellow main characters. However, they were turned twisted permanently. We know this because we get licenses to play as the toons. We are not the real toons. They're too far gone. But none of Dandy's experiments ever worked. In fact, they likely just made things worse, which is why we, the player, are tasked with collecting research via the capsules and ICHOR to help Dandy, so that he can fix what has been done. As to why he lies to us about the elevator always going down, it's likely because he doesn't want us to know what's going on. As far as where the items and Twisted come from, the only thing I can come up with is that he put them there to gather more data, more research on the Twisteds. This is why we gather research in the first place. It's all an elaborate ruse so we don't find the truth. So, that's the theory. I really hope you enjoyed that because I worked really hard on it, and in my opinion, it's a great video. Of course it is in my opinion, I wouldn't have posted it if I didn't think that. But, thank you so much for the recent attention on my other video. It is doing amazing. I think it has a ton of views, and I got like 300 subscribers. Thank you so much. As far as goals though, our next goal is 1,000 subscribers, and if we could do that before the start of summer, that'd be great. I just think that's a good time to try and do it. Also, any loose ends or questions you have about the theory, please ask them in the comments. Or if you have any ideas about what's going on and I don't know, also please put that in the comments, because if it's necessary, I will make a part 2 to this with much more information. With all of that being said, I'm your host Quasar. I hope you tune in next time and stay entertained.